Holodeck 3 program is reinstated.
Open sesame!
Commander Klingon vessel. We are energizing transporter beam. Now.
Warp 1, engage!
Everybody, welcome to Star Trek from the Holodeck. This is Discovery edition of our broadcast, and I am Michael Flores, your host for today. And I'm also sitting in the captain's seat. And at the helm with me is the one and only David Sabal. Hello, David.
Hello, it is a good day.
Yes, we had a bit of a break from our live shows during the winter hiatus. We enjoyed 3 months of Pan-Far. We were both very vigorous in our endeavors.
Very vigorous.
Yeah.
Now we must actually meditate on our actions.
Yes. So we are back doing live shows. We did come back last week, obviously, with the on-demand versions, but we weren't ready to go live. But now we are here. We are back. If you're listening on the website because you found us through Twitter or Facebook, you can also listen to us live via the TuneIn Radio app. Just search RM Channel 001 and add us to your favorites and listen to us anywhere you want to go. Also, the Rayman Digital app, David. The Rayman Digital app. Just search Rayman Digital in your iOS or Google Play stores. Add it and also take us wherever you want to go with that app as well.
As I've always said, it's always logical.
Yeah, during your vigorous Pan-Far expeditions, you can also listen to us anytime.
With your holodeck pornography.
Oh, yes. The holosuite. That's the proper terminology for that one. All right. So today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 1, Episode 11, The Wolf Inside, directed by T.J. Scott. All right. So, David, let's all hail Emperor Georgiou. Let's take a moment.
We did kind of call it. We did kind of call it in the last one, kind of.
Yeah, we knew she was going to pop up. We knew. I mean, it only makes sense with the whole trifecta of brilliance that we're always talking about is Georgiou, Saru, and Sarek in many ways. So it would only make sense for all three of those characters make a relevant appearance this week, and they definitely did.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to actually see that what we've called the trifecta of brilliance turned upside down.
Yeah.
Like, the thing I really enjoyed about this episode was actually Burnham's internal conflict about trying to adapt to this mirror universe.
Right.
And like the mentality that she has to take, and it really does go against everything that's inside of her. But then she gets to see the three main people that actually mean something to her in a different light. And you actually start seeing it start to change her.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Now, we all expected Georgiou to pop up in some aspect. I think we kind of suspected, as you were saying, Dave, that she would possibly be the faceless emperor, as we keep hearing. Especially when you're dealing with things with a show like this where all the moving parts matter and aid in the character development of one central figure, Burnham. So it's something that I think most of us kind of suspected it would happen in some aspect, and it certainly did. Also, it looks like our first big Discovery fan theory has proven correct. Shazad Latif is playing two separate characters, as obviously Ash Tyler and now Klingon Vok, or he called himself Voke this past week. So I don't know how you pronounce that. Maybe we can get a Klingon linguist on the air with us, and they can correct us on how we pronounce that, because they've pronounced it two different ways now, haven't they? During the show.
Yeah, because it was Vok at one point, but now they pronounce it as Voke.
Vok sounds cooler to me.
Vok sounds cooler.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm Vok. That sounds better than, hey, I'm Voke. And this is not cool. There's no cool ring to it.
There's no cool ring to it. It doesn't sound very Klingon saying Voke.
Yeah.
Vok, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So it was cool, although a part of me wished I was not on the internet and we didn't do the show because I think that theory was a bit of a spoiler, and I would like to have known when I would have actually figured it out organically, or if I would have at all. It was fun. I know some people are complaining about how transparent and predictable it was, but I disagree. I don't think it was.
I don't think it was that transparent because, honestly, from the get-go, we've all been... Every Star Trek fan already had it in their head that something is off about who they have playing Vok, because ever since day one, they had the credentials of the actor really out there in public in question. I mean, you had his Twitter account, which was just random, and he would wear the Vok mask portraying himself and not really showing who the real actor is. And that was like a dead giveaway. We already knew, okay, something is up about this character, and then they introduced Tyler.
Yeah, but again, that's the internet. Meaning,
that's the internet.
Let's take away the internet for a moment, and that's where I was going with this, Dave. Is that yes, there was those clues, and it's fun that the producers got on board the clue train, where they're dropping breadcrumbs and having fun with it in a very transmedia type way, via social media. But imagine if we didn't have these avenues of social media. I feel like this reveal would have been truly a reveal. I don't think
everyone's a CSI.
Yes, there we go. Everyone's a CSI. And I honestly think the truth of the matter is there would be far less people figuring that out if it wasn't for the internet and the countless blogs that posted this fan theory. So rather than complaining and saying, oh, it's predictable, I saw it coming, I'm like, did you really see it coming? Did you read a blog?
Exactly.
Did you read a blog that said no one knows who this actor is who's playing Vok? He's never before been seen. So they do Photoshop images of a fake character. I think that it's not as predictable as people to think.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to my mother. She's an avid Star Trek nut, but she's not on the internet. She doesn't use Twitter and Facebook and all those things. And I asked her after this episode aired, I'm like, did you see that coming? She's all, no. I knew something was up with them because of the whole L'Rell connection, but I didn't even think that it was Vok. So there's people out, and my mom's a pretty intelligent lady.
Yeah.
All right. She's not a dummy. I feel like it was a good reveal, and I felt like maybe 2 episodes ago is when we started saying, okay, something's up with this dude.
Yeah. And throughout the entire episode, they made it feel organic. They felt the mystery of Tyler was organic. They introduced this character in an episode that didn't at first seem tied to anything Klingon, but when you actually take a look at it, L'Rell's there. L'Rell's the one who captured Lorca and also captured Tyler.
Hey, you know what? Just let's stop the intelligent talk for a second, Dave. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did we get our first image of Klingon boob this week in a flashback?
I'm not sure.
We got some Klingon boob there.
I think so, because when the
ridges on tits are not, I don't care. I was game. I was for it. I was like, that's pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie. Put some ridges on boobs and call me a Klingon. Why not? I would go for it.
Makes you wonder about that rough Klingon sex.
Oh, are there ridges everywhere? All right. So we're going to get into all of this a little bit later in the show after our first break. We're going to talk about the complaining a bit more and really delve into whether or not it was transparent and predictable. However, David, I do have a question about Lieutenant Ash Tyler. And it's a lingering question that I think is meant to be there for the time being. Is there really even an Ash Tyler? Was he, in fact, at one point really a prisoner aboard L'Rell's vessel? Now, I suspect yes. Otherwise, Lorca could have easily figured out the lie. There would be record of his service, right? He could easily search the Federation archives and say, there is no record of an Ash Tyler. So was Ash Tyler really a prisoner? Did they kill him, mutilate him, take his thoughts somehow, or at least take an idea of who they think he was and then embed it on top of Vok's identity? That's
the mystery that ultimately is about Tyler's character. It's not who is Tyler.
Thank you.
It is what is Tyler.
Yes, I agree.
Because the thing that basically really made me interested was the fact that what set off Tyler. Remember, L'Rell tried to use that mind word or that password to break him out of that personality.
Porno password, if you will.
Yeah, and then it didn't work, and she was wondering what's going on.
He's all, my ridged boobs didn't work.
My ridged boobs
didn't
work.
spark your memory.
But the one thing that did spark his memory was going through and remembering why our Vok, the Vok that basically comes from the original or Discovery's from,
right?
What sets him off? It's basically that T'Kuvma's belief that you have to remain Klingon. If you don't, it's one of the greatest sins is actually crossbreeding into other species. Like he calls the Andorans treacherous and the Vulcans, untrustable and everything. And blending of the species is almost like heresy.
Right. And ultimately that's what leads to his acceptance or awakening of who he is.
And we're
going to get into that. But I think the question, moving forward, Dave, when it pertains to Ash Tyler himself, is who is he?
Yeah. Who.
Is he a real person?
Yeah. What is he?
Yeah, I would be interested.
That's the question.
I'd be interested in exploring that. And if it's as simple as, hey, the dude's dead, I'm like, okay. But I feel like there is a question there that needs to be answered, right?
Yeah. Because there's still a very big mystery about Tyler that has to be explained. And I think I really still think that Tyler's character is going to be explaining a lot about the mysteries of the Klingons in Star Trek as a whole.
Yeah.
That we've always been wanting to know about.
There's a lot there. And I know there were some people, it is what it is. People like to complain. And I know there were people out there they felt like it was anticlimactic. And I completely disagree with it. And I feel like there's a lot more to be done with both Vok and Tyler. I don't think we're done. We're on episode 11 of the first season. Let's give it a chance to marinate and really figure out what's happening with these two characters and how it'll end up panning out.
And I think that's the problem with a lot of, because that's why I also was like seeing. I
read it on a blog, David.
I also saw a lot of complaints that, it's anticlimactic. And I'm like going, in order for it to be anticlimactic, it has to reach its end. The story has to come to an end. The story's not even done yet.
Not even close.
It's not even close to being done yet.
Yeah.
We're only in episode 2 or episode 3.
David, there's something called act structures when you're writing TV shows.
Exactly.
And there's ups and downs. There's highs and lows. It's part of the writing process. And we are just on a slump now, not in a bad way, in a writing way. We're going down and we're going to be going back up. Just be patient.
Yeah, be patient. It's like, unfortunately nowadays, a lot of people who are bloggers and reviewers think that they can review something and know how writing structure works. But in actuality, they're jumping the gun before the series isn't even done yet. So in essence, Tyler's story is not done. You think that they're going to end a character's story by episode 2?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Let's put a pin in that, Dave. Let's put a pin in that and let's do some troll hunting, okay? Before we go to our first break here. There was a comment posted on, I believe, independent.co. It's a UK site that does various blogging of sorts. And there was a question that was pinned on the comment section of the review that they did of the episode. And I feel like this is an example of overthinking and relying too much on your own expectations and what you deem realistic or science fact, rather than focusing on what the show is about, which is a fictitious events told by other people other than yourself. Let's do some troll hunting. So get those phasers ready, okay, Dave? Get those phasers ready, and don't fire at will. I will tell you when to fire. I'll tell you to target that explosion and fire, much like Sulu. So hold tight here. Question is, why do sci-fi writers always get these mirror universes totally wrong? They did the same thing in Fringe. If your universe is so radically different because of something that happened years before, like this evil empire taking over, then the same people would not even exist or still be alive now. Never mind be together on the same spaceship. David, if you remember a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And last week, and also on our Patreon shows. It's simple. And also, not only is the answer simple, and we answered it last week, but also the writers of Discovery answered it. Specifically, they said in a conversation between Lorca and Burnham, one word, destiny. That's why. So you have these people bitching about, oh, they get these mirror universe, these alternate realities wrong. But guess what? If you're not watching the show, you missed it because they specifically answered this question here.
Yeah.
Destiny. Destiny is the reason why all of these people's lives are drawn together in this particular universe.
And
forget the science. You're not a scientist. The worst thing is you get these people that are like, again, they read blogs or they're bloggers or they're science buffs because they read popular science once a month because they got that subscription for the past, since the 80s. And they're one of 100 people that still subscribe.
To it.
But just because you are a science buff doesn't make you a scientist.
Yes.
And I hate how you get all these people on the internet trying to explain science. Well, this is not how it works. You're right. It doesn't work that way. And it's a problem that you and I have discussed. But we hoped that in this day of modern television, they accept that the audience is more intelligent. Give us a reason, an explanation as to why the mirror universe operates that way. We've been talking about this for going on a year and a half.
Yes.
And they did just that with a very simple but very well-written conversation between Burnham and Lorca. And it all goes back to destiny. Did the guy miss that entire scene? Did he check out because he was too busy reading popular science? Or reruns of Bill Nye, the Science Guy? There you go. Fired, David.
Fire.
I fired before I could tell you. Sorry. I was too anxious. Go and fire some more of him.
Okay, firing.
Yeah. Some more. More, David. More! More! God damn it! I'm not done. Keep firing, David. Keep that trigger finger ready to go.
I don't think we have enough torpedoes for this troll.
Every fandom, Dave, has its abyss of stupidity.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. You get these people who are avid fans and they want to read into the science so much
that they believe that they're scientists.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not a scientist, bro.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing about, on our show, we talk about the science of Star Trek and stuff like that. However,
it's told to us. Right.
As it's told to us.
And we break down elements. Like, I feel like the science and Discovery is pretty spot on for the most part. Yes, there's some liberties taken, but I think that comes with the territory of television and entertainment. However, the spore drive and how all that works, there's a book that you can read that's all about the foundation of what that technology, the fictitious technology, is built on. There's a book out there about this very thing. I'll post the link on our website. I have it in the back studio there. I don't remember the name of the book, but I looked it up because Aaron Harberts, on one of his interviews, discussed this book that they used as a source of the science that would inspire this spore drive.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is kind of like whenever I read a lot of the troll comments about the science, it's what they know. It's what they're putting out there that only they know. This is my science.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if it's just science that precludes to you, then honestly, it's not about Star Trek then, because you're not getting the science from Star Trek.
You know what? Just go watch. Netflix has some new original episodes of Bill Nye the Science Guy. Watch those.
Watch those.
Because he's a genius, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to a very quick break. And when we get back, we're going to jump into all the ins and outs of the episodes, the writing, production design, cinematography. We'll be right back.
Double dumbass on you! Fire everything!
The Rain Man Show. The Rain Man Show.
time.
I've never had that issue.
Andrew, you're also autistic.
Sure.
And you don't know how to read human behavior.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, I understand.
So
that.
you probably
but
think, oh gosh, golly, this guy really liked me. Meanwhile, he wants to curb stomp you on your way out.
I've never had that interaction. Everybody, it's
because they don't know your schedule. Once they know your schedule, you're going to get curb stomped.
It's every other day for 3 days, and then it's a 2-day rest. All right. But I've never had that interaction. Like whenever I approach somebody and I say, "Hey, here's some resources that might give you a better."
Resources? What would you give him? Like a, what do you like?
Let me pull up my bodybuilding.com account and I'll show it to you, bro.
You're offering books?
Do you like? Do you pin like a link to Pinterest and you like send it over to them?
No, I'm just like, hey, here's some. If you're looking for a routine or not routine, if you're looking to fix your or work on your form,
I've actually panned a few great workout routines on my Pinterest. Hit me up.
He goes over to the guy that's like fucking 260, 6'5", just ripped. Like, would you like to try my routine?
Yeah.
You know when you squat, you got to break parallel, right?
I'm like, hey, bro,
with me.
Oh my god!
Andrew, you're not helping anybody at the gym.
Man.
I made some good friends. All right, that's all I'm saying about it.
Treadmill. He's got treadmill friends.
Like, if I didn't know any better, I would think we were in 1930s and you were living in an attic with Anne Frank recently. That's how thin you are. You're malnutrition, and you're trying to get.
Oh my god, I'm crying! Stop!
For more Rain Man, visit RainManShow.com. It's Weird West Sunday.
So the first thing I look at is, okay, if you're doing a Western and your inspiration is the surrealism of Sergio Leone, then you better have your panels drawn in such a way that it resembles the work of Leone. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sergio Leone was known during a time when anamorphing was being used. The comic book pages of Pretty Deadly is you saw those mimicking images. And I'm not talking just the wide screen style shots, but also just the depth of field and making sure certain elements should stay in focus. Emma Rio studied and did her homework when she got down to doing this comic book.
Yeah, she did a great job.
I think going down the path and kind of creating their own lore. They created their own lore. Mm-hmm. I think it leaves more room for mystery and more room for creativity and originality.
Well, and like this one, I don't think they threw that so much into your face either.
Yeah,
you know, the Christianity or paganism or anything like that. It was, if you read it like I kind of read it.
Catch up on your favorite Weird West discussions from Mike and Clint every Sunday on Rain Man Channel 001. Listen from the Rain Man digital app or tune in. Just search RM Channel 001.
Have you ever wanted something so bad that you do just about anything for it? Well, that's exactly how we feel about you. That's right. AdamandEve.com wants you so bad. We're giving you 10 free gifts with your first order. You heard me right. That's 10 free gifts to spice up your love life. First, you'll get a sexy surprise for her. Second, an adventurous toy for him. And third, a little something we know you'll both enjoy. Plus, you'll get 6 full-length adult movies on DVD. And number 10, free shipping on your entire order. That's 10 free gifts for you shy types who've never tried Adam and Eve before. Just go to AdamandEve.com and select any one item. It could be an adventurous new toy, a sexy piece of lingerie, or anything you desire. Just enter offer code DEAL30 at checkout, and you'll get all 10 free gifts, including free shipping. That's offer code DEAL30. That's DEAL 30 at AdamandEve.com.
Energize.
All right, welcome back to Star Trek from the Holodeck, the Discovery Edition. All right, so it's time to get into this episode here. Directed by T.J. Scott, titled The Wolf Inside. All right, so something that we don't always discuss in detail, but we should. And this is the production design, because it's something that we shouldn't forget to discuss. I know we run out of time because we already push in an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes on these shows because there's so much to talk about when it comes to the actual narrative. But that doesn't mean we should just skip over or briefly touch on some of the technical achievements and artistic achievements that goes into this show. And a few of those is the production design, the art direction, and all facets of the makeup, whether it be special effects makeup, the VFX makeup, the actual prosthetics. Everything that goes into this show is so carefully chosen. And, you know, the production designer, Tamara Deverell and Mark Worthington, just fantastic work week after week with the amount of detail and just kind of know-how that goes into the work and the look of the show. I mean, the textures is what I noticed, and the depth of each piece of production. It's consistent. The cohesive continuity of the design and the color palette is probably the thing that really sticks out the most to me week after week. It's quite an accomplishment. It looks so gorgeously put together. I think we've seen enough to say something like this, such a broad, ballsy statement. But I think without a doubt, Dave, this is probably the most gorgeous looking Star Trek that we've ever gotten, right? Would you
absolutely. Agree? Cinematic wise, oh my God. I mean, like, I understand that basically in the past, Enterprise, which was the last Star Trek series, tried to go that route, but unfortunately the technology wasn't quite there yet.
And also the taste, the palette for certain types of television wasn't quite there yet until actually when the show ended around 2004, 2005 is when TV really started to drastically change, where we started getting less television look and you started getting that more cinematic look. But one thing we don't get into every week is the technical achievements. And I kind of want that to change. And I don't want to neglect this aspect, particularly when you have scenes like how the episode opened this week. The cinematography is just so important to any piece of television or film that's hoping to evoke any type of emotion and establish a connection between the unseen painter, the writers, and the audience. It's visual poetry, Dave.
It is. I mean, like, I love the fact that they went so far as to actually explain the difference in lighting and the difference, like, in how every shot seemed to move very slow and methodically and went along with what the narrative was saying.
Methodically is the perfect word. And it's well chosen word.
And the entire scene was just gorgeously shot to fit what Burnham was thinking. And that's a sign of great cinematography, great filmmaking that you don't see in a lot of TV shows.
Yeah. It's the invisible letters that form words that tell an additional story, that adds to the additional story. And usually it's subtle, and I think it should be. You don't want to be taken out of the moment. And in the case of this week's opening episode, as I was saying, Glenn Keenan, the DOP, the director of photography for Discovery, he creates a beautiful piece of poetic symbolism using well-chosen visuals. And the specific shot I'm talking about is very opening scene when we were first introduced to Burnham this week. Through the lens of a skewed reflection, we see Burnham, and then the camera jibs up from the skewed reflection surface of the floor to Burnham lying on her bed, symbolizing the mirror universe and the opposites that it represents and where our lead character currently finds herself. What a way to open the episode.
Yes.
You have that stark contrast, the definitive line when the camera jibs up, it hits the bed, it goes up. I mean, it's just so well thought out, man. And this is what makes television shows stand the test of time.
It's that use of cutting. I don't know. I don't know if there's an exact term for it, but it's cutting the frame completely 50-50.
Yeah. No, and that's right.
It goes with that duality story that we're trying to tell in Burnham's character right now, that everything is split in half.
Absolutely.
And
Dude, I got giddy. I got so giddy when they opened up with that shot. I was like, oh, I love that shot. That shot. I was so jealous because I wanted to do it. It was just so good.
Because like, I'll be honest. I've watched a lot of television shows, not a lot, even by today's standards, not a lot of TV shows. They don't put a lot of stock in trying to tell a story visually. It's usually they set up the camera and then they just let the actors go. And that's what it seems. It's very plastically two-dimensional. But with Discovery, the more and more I've watched Discovery, I'm seeing like little like nods to cinematography where you're taking depth of field. You're cutting the frames in half and thirds and fourths.
Yeah.
And every single angle is done so that you can kind of help the narrative go along.
Yeah, each frame of the shot is telling its own story. And that's how cinematography for television and movies, where you want there to be some relevance to your visuals, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
The cinematographer's right there telling his own version of the same story. All right, so that being said, I feel like each week, well, we only have a few weeks left, but I think moving forward, I want to highlight at least one shot every week and talk about it, because I don't want to forget those moments, because I think they're just as important as the writing. So Dave, when you watch the episodes moving forward, pick your shot of the week.
Shot of the week.
And then bring it to me and I'll include it into the show notes, and then we can discuss it, analyze it, break it down, and try to see what possibly the writing team and the cinematographer is trying to say with this particular visual.
Yeah. And
I'll do the same. All right, so let's get into some of the events that transpired this week. First and foremost, Lieutenant Ash Tyler. As I was saying, it has been fun trying to figure out this character. I don't believe we've ever had a character or situation like this in Star Trek before, where we can follow the clues and the breadcrumbs to the definitive ending of this character, or at least the immediate character's end game or goal. We haven't had this moment before in Star Trek. And again, this is a show that's the product of the times. It's a different decade of television. Storytelling has drastically changed since the days of Enterprise and, of course, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Next Generation. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that the writers are grabbing a hold of this new generation of writing and what the audiences want, and they're telling different types of stories. We've never seen something like this in a show. And I honestly believe that a lot of the, I know some people scoffed. Even I was skeptical about the TVMA rating when we first had heard about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
We both had some mixed feelings about it. And I believe you and I both came to the same conclusion that if it's used to tell an emotional story and bring a little bit of grit and realism, that we'll be on board. And that's what the TVMA rating has done for this show. It's giving you reasons to have moments like the Ash Tyler reveal, which there was some very disturbing dark imagery in his memories.
There was
flesh
a lot
and bones
of,
being shredded and ripped, taboo sexual scenes between a human and a Klingon. And it does so much for the story. I know some people want to claim that this scene was predictable, but was it really?
I still say it wasn't.
Yeah. And I know the internet has turned a lot of average people into top-notch detectives who claim their detective prowess, but I'd wager if the internet was if it wasn't filled with spoilers and people sharing theories, I don't think the scene would be as predictable as people are claiming it is.
No, because nobody would ever think about, whatever they did to Tyler. It still is up to debate and still a mystery to what Tyler is. Is Ash Tyler a real person and did they graft Vok onto Tyler, or is Tyler like a generated personality out of the whole whatever they did to him? That's still a mystery.
Yeah.
And that's why I said is like everyone wants to jump the gun and says, oh, it's so predictable. really, it's predictable because people get affected by what they see on the internet.
Right. And I guess we'll never truly know for sure, but
you can't have surprises nowadays. There's no such thing as a real, honest to God, M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
That can happen in today's cinema.
Yeah.
Because too many people, they'll read it first on the internet and then they'll say, oh, that's so predictable. Well, it's predictable because you're just told it.
Yeah, because you read it in a big old fat headline from The Nerdist or from some other bullshit blog. But putting that all aside, I don't think that changes the fact that it worked.
Yeah.
And we haven't even begun to see the emotional impact that this truth will have on Burnham, which that's the point. If it serves as misdirection, great. If it serves, if this whole scenario, the Vought-Tyler scenario, if it didn't work for your misdirection, that's fine. But the point of it isn't necessarily to fool you. It's about Burnham.
It's about to tell a story.
Right. It's about her story. And how will this affect her moving forward? I mean, we don't even know what type of effect this will actually have on Tyler Vaught himself. Will it be as simple as that? As what we saw in this episode, he remembers and he can suddenly forget the pain he went through, both physical and psychological, as well as potentially any feelings he had for this Discovery crew or Burnham.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The way we left him off right now, it's a mystery to what is Tyler going to do now? Because okay, if Vought is in control, Vought also has the memories of, number one, sleeping with Burnham.
Yeah, you did.
Having relationships with Burnham.
Oh, wait a second. So you're saying it all comes down to how good the vagina was?
It could be. I mean, do you like the ridges?
I don't know. I like that crazy stuff. I might join Laurel's team.
Exactly. Do you like the crazy stuff, the violent stuff, the choking and everything? Okay, you might go to Laurel.
Yeah, why not?
But like ultimately, it for me, I don't look at it like a surprise twist as, oh, that made the story. No.
Right.
Does the surprise twist help the story?
People's expectations for this season's narrative should not rely on this twist.
Exactly.
Because this twist is a drop in the bucket compared to all the other elements and the moving parts that's making this first season come together. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be the actual focus moving forward. This idea that Vought has remembered, I mean, he said he remembered everything. Let me backtrack just a moment. He said he remembered everything once he confronted his mirror universe counterpart.
Yes.
Then he struggled to tell Burnham. So if he struggled to tell Burnham who he was, even though he knew who he was at that moment, then it wasn't as a clear-cut decision as a lot of people are claiming it is on the net right now. I feel like there's a lot more that's going to happen to his character. I don't think he's done. I feel like at that moment he had a sense of resolve, like this is my mission, this is who I am. And I think a lot of it had to do with the disgust that he felt that his counterpart was the exact opposite. He was an abomination.
Exactly.
I think that's what sent him over the edge.
Yeah.
But I feel like after that subsides a bit, those raw emotions and the conflicting feelings within his brain, I think there's going to be a little bit of sadness there and confusion as to who he is and if he truly does have feelings for Burnham still. Because the fact that he went about that conversation with Burnham in a very non-confrontational way, when he was planning to tell Burnham, first off, he wasn't going to tell Burnham. If you remember, he was going to keep playing the part of Tyler. And then he chose to tell her, and he didn't tell her by slitting her throat or trying to kill her. He told her in a very sensitive manner. He said, I have some type of feelings, maybe affection or loyalty towards Laurel. If he had known, like he said, he already knew who he was. So why is he going through these motions? These motions of caring how he's telling. He was very delicate in how he explained it to Burnham. And I believe that's because he is still confused. Not confused as who he is. I think he knows who he is now. I think he's confused emotionally. He's been through a lot. And I feel like the Tyler identity is going to become it's going to be just as much him as Vok now moving forward. And he's going to have those conflicting thoughts and talk about Shakespearean as fuck, dude. I mean, that's how you tell an emotional story. A guy who's split between identities, choosing what path does he choose? Does he choose the path of someone who he fell in love with, or does he choose the path that's his birthright?
Exactly. And that's why I said is like, if there's people out there that honestly think that this is it for Tyler, I'm like going, no, this is the beginning, because they entered a place where his character is literally what the core element of the story is. The core story of the story that the narrative that they're trying to tell is the battle of duality. What are you? What makes you who you are? You know, are you actually good? Are you actually evil? Yeah. Are you evil for evil's sake?
Yeah. And Dave, see, you're spot on, Dave. And I love your analysis of it, because you're exactly right. And that's how I feel. And that's why the writers chose the landscape of the mirror universe for the second half of the season to explore these very things. You have some people out there complaining about the mirror universe, saying, why do you got to spend so many episodes out there? This is not Star Trek. This is violent. But the title is Discovery. Discover oneself, right? Learn about who you are. And this landscape they're using, the mirror universe, is the perfect landscape, the perfect setting to explore this portion of our story. So I love your analysis. I'm glad you came to the exact same conclusion as I did.
Yeah, because like that, and the thing is, a lot of Star Trek fans I know feel that violence and this type of serious storytelling doesn't feel like Star Trek, but in actuality it is. Many times
violence has always been in Star Trek, David? Let's quote somebody, okay, with all the hatred, but all the hatred and venom that he said this one line with. Let them die.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You think
die? Come on, violence. That guy was hateful. Kirk hated the Klingons.
Kirk was racist. If you think about it, Kirk was racist. Arguably, yes, there was a reason to his racism.
Yeah,
but still, he hated.
No, hold on, David. Are you trying to justify there's reasons to be racist? Come on, Dave.
That could be a philosophical debate in Star Trek if you want. Because all right, Captain Kirk, he hates all Klingons because his son died, right? Well, why does he blame all Klingons?
Yeah. No, I get it. What's that movie with Ed Norton in it where they actually explore that, where he's a neo-Nazi and
it's American X? I forget.
Yeah, American History X.
American History X.
And they actually go into that. They actually explore that very aspect, or that ideology of justified racism, I guess, right?
And I hate to say it, like, because I don't want to tell Star Trek fans that they're poor Star Trek fans, but in actuality, if you feel that Star Trek is only supposed to be happy-go-lucky and it's supposed to be peace for everybody and everything else,
come on, then live long and prosper, Dave.
You're being very naive.
Yeah,
you're being very naive. All the storylines that everyone has grown up with.
And now a message from David to all Star Trek fans. Go ahead.
You honestly need to grow up. Because like
David's taking you to war right now.
Yeah, you need to
let them die.
Let them die. Okay?
Oh, Jesus, David, calm down.
Star Trek fans.
Who are you right now?
Star Trek fans need to grow up.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm sorry,
let's not generalize. Let's not throw all Star Trek fans.
True. I mean, not all Star Trek fans, but the Star Trek.
I feel like we're Star Trek fan gods right now. We're pointing down to all of them, saying you should be ashamed.
I should be
ashamed of yourself.
I don't mind being that guy.
Jeez.
Because like right now, there's so many people out there.
I don't know David. Anybody? I don't know who you.
There's so many Star Trek fans, and I see so many comments from quote unquote hardcore Star Trek fans constantly say, this is not Star Trek. This is not the Star Trek I grew up on. I'm like going, well, yeah, because Star Trek evolved and it matured.
Yeah.
And it's grown up. you need to grow up.
Oh my Jesus, David! Look at this, aggressive David. Are you trying to figure out who you are too, or are you really Vok over there? All right, so Shazad Latif, I think ultimately did a remarkable job as the actor playing Vok and Tyler. I mean, that's talent. The face that he made, the fact that, I mean, that is acting, David.
That is acting.
The type of role or the type of scene that he played this week, that's what actors love. Those are the roles actors want. When you can have that automatic shift, because when his face went from Tyler to Vok, you believed it. He looked like Vok.
Yeah.
That's how good he is as an actor, man. And I love when, I always talk about this in our shows, and I love when producers and writers give such a talent like Shazad is, or Shazad, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I like when they do the right casting and they give these actors who are exceptional this type of material to work with, because it was fun to see that broken spirited Tyler who was confused and broken and didn't know anything. And he was just an emotional shell of himself. And then just like that,
the flip switch,
they didn't even cut the camera. If you notice, it was one shot. So it wasn't even like, all right, cut. All right, now we're going to zoom in for the close-up when you switch. No, and it was all one take from emotional Tyler to Vok. And when you can switch on a dime, is that the terminology, on a dime? When you can switch just like that with a snap of your fingers and look like somebody else, that is some talent.
That is.
And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm hoping he's not done in this show. Even this season, I don't want, because he is so good at this character and such a good actor that I'm hoping I do want resolve. Don't get me wrong. I don't want us to have cliffhanger after cliffhanger, but I would love to see his character continue in some way.
And the beautiful thing is that Burnham's mission to find out how is it that basically this, in the mirror universe, Firewolf, who turns out to be Vok, how does he bring all these different races together when he's a Klingon? And then I thought it was brilliant because I didn't see it coming, was like when she's talking with the captain, I'm like going, why is it that she's really fascinated by this? And then she brings up to the fact to the captain that if she can find out how Vok here is doing this, she can possibly use the same philosophy and bring peace to their universe.
Yeah, she wanted to understand the Klingons and they get in their minds and understand how they can have peace here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, that is beautiful. That's actually really a well thought out narrative that basically, I thought that basically it would go nowhere. Why is she going into Vok? Why is she wanting to meet Firewolf? I thought it was going to be really easy and simple to understand, but in actuality her mission still is, when she gets home, stop war. And knowing that basically Vok here actually ended the war among all races and brought them all together as one, she wanted to find out why.
Yeah.
And just like what you said, that whole scene with him, Burnham, and quote unquote Vok in the same room, my favorite, if I had to come up with a favorite scene, I know yours was actually the very beginning, which was beautifully shot. That scene for me was really well shot. And plus it was well acted.
Yeah, it was good.
Because like, you're right. I mean, I can never say his name right, but seeing Tyler flip on a dime.
Yeah.
All in one shot. That was magnificent.
It was good.
When he screamed out in Klingon as a human.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you hear it in his voice that it's not Tyler's voice, it's Vok's voice. And then Vok turns around and says, how do you know our ancient ancestor tongue and stuff like that? I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good setup. I enjoyed it. Tremendous. But David, all of these things that we're talking about, we're spending over half the show now on Vok and Tyler. And the reason why is because there's so much to this character, and there's so much more that can become of this character.
When everyone thought it was going to be a throwaway character.
Right. And when you think about it, Dave, this is what makes what we're witnessing right now, Dave. These are the ingredients to a fantastic nemesis. This is how you make those nemesis. This is how you make the Khans. This is how you make the Borgs. This is how you make the Klingons, I should say, and Kirk's problems with them. We have always said that Voyager and Enterprise, it lacked its nemesis, the core villain that truly makes our hero who they are, and who ends up forging them who they end up becoming. Obviously, we know the events with Picard becoming Locutus and the Borg, and how he had such a hatred towards them. That's what made him who he was eventually. Down the road, all paths always led back to that moment when he became assimilated. Kirk and the death of his boy and the Klingons. Sisko and being the prophet of Bajor, and the Dominion battle, the Dominion War. That's who Sisko ended up becoming. That defined him.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have Burnham. What defines Burnham? So much more than just Vok. But when you look at history past, you look at history, you look at all the other elements of Star Trek, what made those iconic characters, and some of those elements that stuck with fans and audiences. These are some of those ingredients right here with Vok. I'm not saying that's their plan, and I hope it's not their plan, because you know why? When you plan it, that's when it doesn't become it.
It doesn't become it.
You just make something good. You write something great, and before you know it, you've created an iconic villain or a nemesis, and that's what I'm hoping happens. An arch nemesis of sorts.
I do too. I mean, like, everyone,
he can go away for a couple years.
He could go away for a couple years.
He can come back and always be that reminder of something that sparks emotion inside of Burnham.
And it's different. It's different and they could take it different with Burnham than any other characters. Because if you notice, like, okay, with what you brought up, Kirk and the Klingons, it's hatred. With Picard and the Borg, hatred. All of it is about hatred
and also a sense of violation.
Yeah,
he was violated.
This right here is a little different, because Burnham is obviously in love with Tyler. So
think about what that does to her character.
Think about what that does. Her arch nemesis is, at one point, was her lover. And I'm like going, that's totally different. That's taking the whole hero nemesis angle to a whole different level. What happens if, like, the hero is in love with the nemesis, or if the nemesis is in love with the hero?
Right. Or it brings up conflicting emotions. We've never had a nemesis or a villain where, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but we've never had a villain in Star Trek where they had an intimate relationship.
Closest thing that you could possibly say is Khan and Kirk.
Listen, Kirk never fucked Khan. At least not. Maybe in some slash fiction.
But there was the whole thing about Khan liking the same woman as Kirk. Because remember, I forgot what her name was that ended up going with Khan. She was in a relationship with Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that love triangle there where basically, well, Khan loves the woman that I love, and she, in the end, Khan ends up taking her away from Kirk.
Right.
And you could kind of tell, going back in that episode, you could kind of tell it's very demoralizing for Kirk to see the woman that he loves go with a different man who he hates.
Right. Yeah, I get that. But however, with the Burnham and Tyler situation, it's a lot more intimate.
It's a lot more intimate.
There's a sense of love from both sides, that they were in love with each other. So to have that ripped away because they find out the truth about Burnham finds out the truth about Tyler, and Tyler finds out the truth about himself, it doesn't mean his feelings aren't there in some way. So it's going to be really fun to see what happens. And I'm hoping this is just the very beginning of an ongoing emotional roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
I love this type of stuff.
Dude, it's heading towards that way because if you think about it, Klingons are very honorable. At the end of the day, they're a very honorable race. We all know that. Klingons live and die by
eating
honor.
their enemies is very honorable.
Well, their word is their bond. Remember, they always say, our word is our bond. Tyler has literally promised Burnham that he will always be there to protect her. That has to be a huge conflict with his other personality, Vok.
It's going to be fun to see. I feel like now we are entering an area that needs to be done very carefully.
Yes.
Like the writers need to be very careful moving forward what happens
because there's so many elements about this relationship between the two that you're like kind of going, it could go either way.
Yeah, and they have to handle this very carefully because they created something really good, really great here. And if they're not careful, they can just as quickly destroy it. So hopefully they have it. I think I would have, you know what? I feel like they understand where they're going with this. So I don't have a fear of it. However, there's still that little doubt. You know? I'm hoping they continue down the path they're going. They don't just end this. All right, let's move on to the faceless emperor is revealed as no other than Georgiou. Now, this shit, David, honestly couldn't get more Shakespearean, as we were saying. Burnham's dead mentor has revealed herself as being the emperor. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. Now, if you're a female and you're an emperor, shouldn't you be an empress?
Empress? Exactly.
Now, is that gender insensitive? Should I not say that?
That's the funny part about
this.
Does
it take away empowerment for women by calling them an empress?
I wouldn't say so because like you got to remember
that's the first thing Lorca should have said. Like you're not an emperor. You're an empress. It's mixed direction.
The thing I would tell
you're
people
not gender fluid.
Exactly. But no one knew who the emperor was to this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, everyone refers to them as emperor. Okay, because you haven't seen them. So no one ever thought, well, the emperor might be a woman.
Yeah. There's going to be some big ramifications emotionally here. I mean, again, talking about great acting. I mean, oh, shit. What's her name? Sonequa Green?
Yes.
Sonequa Martin Green. Sorry. Sonequa Martin Green. I mean, talk about talent. Again, that face when Georgiou popped onto screen and we had that shot that just stayed on Burnham, that reaction shot. And she went from surprise to emotion to horror. All in 15 seconds.
Because
it's just amazing job from her. Just amazing acting job.
You can see that basically this whole time Burnham is still really confused in this universe. She doesn't realize how this universe works.
Right.
And then by this episode, she's done enough research that the only thing she understands is all of the mirror universe counterparts of themselves are polar opposites of themselves. So knowing that basically my mentor, who I thought was peace-loving, kind, caring, brilliant, starship captain, all of a sudden the flip side is she's going to be ruthless.
Yeah.
She's going to be dangerous, and she's not going to have any mercy in her soul whatsoever.
Right. And if this is done correctly, this will amount to far more than just the casual viewer suspects. I mean, based on our trifecta of brilliance and the theory of destiny at play, Georgiou of the Mirror Universe and Burnham will have some type of relationship in this reality as well. It's going to happen. There's going to be something more than just, I'm your boss and you're my devoted servant. There's going to be more of an intimate relationship of sorts. I'm not saying it's going to be mentor and student, but there's going to be something there than just simply, I'm your boss. I'm the emperor and you listen to me. There's going to be more of a deeper rooted relationship here. Again, and the reason why I'm saying this is just based on all the breadcrumbs we have so far from the writers. Everything's about destiny. Everything's about the opposites, yes, but also destiny and bringing these characters together and explaining why there are duplicates of each and they're connected, much like the Prime universe. And it's going to do a couple things. And if it done correctly, the writers will no doubt find a way to give Burnham the closure she needs to move forward after this season's done. Closure that quite possibly she would never have had if she had not crossed into the mirror universe. And this kind of goes back to what you and I were saying, David, about them choosing the best setting possible to explore certain elements of these characters. And this is just another one. The trifecta of brilliance. We had that closure with the mid-season finale, but we also knew there was much more to come. And now they're working on the opposite side of Burnham's closure. They're working from the inside out now. They're not done. They're still utilizing the same things. They're still utilizing Saru and Sarek and, of course, Georgiou to really discover who this person is, who Burnham is, and who she will become. It's very well crafted. I don't feel like it's the simple... I know there were some complaints online, unfortunately, about, of course it's Georgiou. Of course it's Georgiou. And they're being assholes about it. But I'm like, of course it is Georgiou.
It makes sense.
This fits the theme of what we're seeing this season. Of course it is. It wasn't supposed to be a fucking surprise. It makes sense. That's why you were able to call it out, because everything they're doing, this makes sense to the exploration of this character, Burnham.
I think, honestly, fans' expectations...
Let's not get into that. You're going to hate on them again. You know what? The thing about fans is fuck them.
No. Fuck them.
That's what you were about to say. All right. So there are still a lot of questions revolving around the Emperor.
Yes.
Is she part of Sato's dynasty? I think that's the racist conclusion. All Asians are related, right?
I hate to say it. The first time I saw Georgiou, when I saw the twist, I'm going, does that mean that, well, at the end of Enterprise, we know Sato was like the first emperor.
Right. So
that has to mean that Sato and Georgiou are descendants, right? And I'm like going, oh God, I sound so racist right now.
Now, the second question is, was Sato ever even a dynasty? We know in some of the media tie-ins that are not canon. I forgot the name of the book, but there was a book that actually specifically delved in to the Sato dynasty in the Mirror Universe. However, that's not canon. And if you remember the ending of Enterprise, all we saw was Sato in charge of the USS Defiant heading to Earth to conquer, air quotes, that's what she said she was going to do. She's going to go conquer the Emperor and take the throne.
And it made sense too, because I'm sorry, we discussed this in the past. She has technology that is far advanced than anything that has been seen so far.
And yes, and that leads to the next two questions, David. What happened after those events? Okay. Are they going to clue us in? Are they going to fill in the blanks? And did they reverse engineer the Defiant? When the Defiant crossed over, it was 100 years in the past. So the Mirror Universe, got their hands on technology that was 100 years advanced of their own.
It would explain one major thing that when I thought about it.
What?
It would explain how the Terran Empire got so in control and dominated everybody.
But weren't they already dominating in Enterprise 100 years before? Weren't they already, or was it just in their own solar system?
No, it was just in their own solar system, because they were still fighting. They were still fighting like all those other alien races and having problems.
Right.
But then the Defiant showed up and killed everybody, because the Defiant at that point, that ship was like, what they say, like 100 years at more advanced than any ship, including all the alien races. So by now, and you got to remember, by Discovery right here, the alien races have been reduced to basically a small resistance. So something had to have come along to put the Terrans so utter in dominance that basically they controlled everything.
Yeah, it'll explain it. And also, adding a bit more to that, there's a lot of, and I know you and I discussed this a little bit last week, that they have to be very careful for continuity's sake moving forward. And I'm not a stickler for continuity when it comes to aesthetics. We've already talked about that. Meaning, there's just no way you're going to truly be true to the way things looked when you compare it to a show that aired in the 1960s. It would look silly if you tried to pawn this show off and made it look like the 1960s. The way the Enterprise looked. I'm okay with it doing it as one-offs, But I understand why they changed certain things and they changed the continuity when it comes to technology. But one thing I am a stickler on is narrative continuity. Don't mess up the story. There's no reason for it.
No.
So I liked how so far they're being careful with what they do. Because of course there was a moment that I was worried this week when Burnham went down and talked to the Alliance and was talking about peace and yada 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 and allying people and creating, what's the word I'm looking for? Alliances. There we go. And she's curious about it, and it seemed like there was going to be a change in the way the Alliance operated, and maybe possibly wanted to start communicating with the Terran Empire in some way. Maybe they're looking for avenues of peace because of Burnham. They gave them that hope. And I didn't want that hope to last. And I'm glad at the end of the episode, Giorgio popped up and destroyed the planet. Because you got to remember, when it comes to narrative continuity, the change to the Terran Empire did not happen until after Kirk crossed over and convinced Spock that he could be somebody else. He could be different. He doesn't need to do this. And of course, we know moving forward into Deep Space Nine, we find out that Kirk's speech to Spock worked. Spock took big steps to changing the way the Terran Empire operated. Ultimately, it ended horribly for them. It didn't work, but it did turn them from a terrible, tyrannical dictatorship into something different. So I'm glad that happened, because I don't think they can't have those traces of hope yet, right?
No,
they can't. Yeah, they can't,
because the thing
comes from Kirk.
It comes from
and
Kirk.
Spock.
That was the spark.
Yeah, you can't take that away from Spock's, the mirror universe Spock's destiny. I felt like that was such a great moment in Star Trek history.
And I think that's why I kind of dig about the idea of destiny throughout Discovery, is the fact that no matter what we say, nothing changes what is going to happen.
Right.
Everything, no matter what Burnham does, it's not going to change the other importance of other points in history, like other fixes, other fixed point, what a lot of people call fixed points in time.
Right.
So just because she tries to get this alliance, this hope, well, that's going to get snuffed out, because guess what? The spark of hope is not going to happen till Spock.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw those torpedoes launch and destroy the planet. I was like, yep, good. I was glad.
Yeah, because there were just no way that they could just leave that there.
Yeah, I agree. It was good. All right, so Stamets, or should we call him the Traveler?
He's going to be the Traveler. I'm telling you. Oh my God, his brain is turned half.
Are you 100% sold on that?
I'm sold on it.
Really?
I got to be, because I'm sorry. They said that his front cortex was replaced with something that is out of this dimension.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, Traveler.
It would be such a great little tie-in, man. It would be so good. I would be okay with it. I just don't know if I want to call it out yet. I know didn't we say something like the very first time we started dealing with the spore drive and the connection that he had, what was like in episode 2 or episode 3 or 4? That's the first thing we said. And I know it made a lot of sense, and hopefully, or possibly I should say, it will happen, but we shall see.
We shall see.
Now, with Stamets, he didn't do much. The writers didn't do much with him this week. They used his character along with Tilly and Saru to expand a bit more on the science of the spores and how it all works. I'm sure much of what they said will pay off before the end of the season. A lot of the techno babble, because it was full on.
Yes,
it was full on this week. So I'm sure a lot of that's going to pay off by the end of the season. And it'll help explain some of their decisions and maybe potential wins to getting Stamets back to where he needs to be, right? 100%. Even though I don't think Stamets will ever be 100%.
No, I think by the end of this, Stamets is going to be completely changed. He's not going to be the same Stamets.
Yeah.
They'll get him out of the palace that he keeps talking about.
I am the gay traveler.
Yeah.
I will seek out Wesley Crusher.
Wesley Crusher. I was like, oh yeah, he's a traveler.
Yeah, Wesley Crusher. He didn't know what he was in for. I want to become a traveler just like you.
Just like you. Oh, okay. We're gonna be alone.
Yeah. Intimate time.
Intimate time. Why do I have to put this blindfold on while I'm doing this? It's to concentrate.
All right. So Lorca was MIA this week. The question remains, what is he up to, though? Does he have his own plans still? I feel like he has become a little too neutered. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I feel like, yes, I'm not going to take away any of our previous analysis. I feel like at Lorca's core, I feel like he's a good person. But he's also very, very damaged. And I'm willing to bet he's working on something that Burnham is not in the know about.
I don't know. I mean, like that one conversation with him and Burnham, she took him out of the torture pod.
Yeah.
And they were having that discussion. I'm going, I was like, yeah, like going, Lorca has to have a plan B.
Yeah.
He's just that type of person to have a plan B. But I'm sorry, the way that he's being portrayed now, it does feel like they've neutered him a little bit because there's not something he can do.
But that's why I think it's intentional. I think he's neutered purposely for right now to misdirect us. But I have a feeling that if he's not working on something, because obviously I don't think his intention was ever to cross over to the mirror universe. However, I feel like something is going to be shoved in front of him that he can't resist. And I don't mean Laurel's ridged boobs. I mean something of value to the war effort against the Klingons, something dangerous, something that does not belong in the prime universe, the prime timeline, that he's going to try to bring back to help win the war, something very dangerous.
Yeah, I was really wondering how his character would react to Burnham telling him, you know, hey, this is my plan. We're going to try to bring peace on our side, trying to figure out how they brought peace on their side. And I was like going, Lorca would not go with this, I think, because I think Lorca would be against something like this.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yes, he wants to win the war, but that's the thing. You don't win war with peace. I mean, the way Lorca's been portraying it.
Diplomacy only gets you so far.
Only gets so far.
Yeah.
And Lorca at this point has always portrayed the fact that he doesn't want to win the war. He wants to defeat the Klingons.
Yeah. And that's why I'm thinking that the writers are purposely sidelining the ambitious side of Lorca for the time being, because I feel like he's going to resurface and the dangerous side of Lorca is going to resurface soon. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think that he's willing to do anything.
Yeah, well, it goes into question, like, I think the question that is still there with Lorca is what was brought up in the last episode when they came back from their mid-season finale, was like, Lorca brought up the fact, isn't it strange that basically the hero, the mirror universe of himself is the hero?
Yeah, and that's so brilliant. Yeah.
And I'm like going, at this point, that still it should be in the back of everyone's head that Lorca brings this up.
Yep. There's a reason for that. There is a absolute reason for that.
He's doing all the heroic things, but for what goals?
Yeah.
You know, is he trying to be the hero, or does he have his own plans now? Because he's like, okay, interesting. So I got to play the role of the hero now to get my way, maybe. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and Lorca's the type of person that he would gladly go down that road to hell.
Yeah, because he thinks it's for right reasons. That's the dangerous thing about characters like Lorca, is they have good intentions and they feel like the ends justify
the means.
Yeah. So we'll see. I feel like there's definitely something about to happen with him. He's not going to be a neutered character.
I hope it not
for the rest of the season,
because I've really enjoyed the character of Lorca up to this point. I'd hate for them to just neuter him right now.
They're not. They're putting him on the back burner for the time being for some reasons, I'm sure. That kind of concludes our our main discussion, our own breakdown, but there were some questions that were littered throughout the interwebs this week that I felt was worthy of discussion and breaking down a bit. And we can either choose to destroy them with torpedo fire, or we can justify and kind of take their conversation or their banter a bit farther with our own analysis. Okay. So there were some issues, questions, comments from around the interwebs that I feel is worthy of discussion. All right. So the first one is taken from the independent.co.uk website. And the comment on this week's episode: the characters in this episode go nowhere fast, at least until Burnham goes on a bizarre mission to seek to understand how a pan-racial coalition can be maintained, seemingly forgetting that as a Starfleet officer, she already worked for one. Now, when I first read this comment, a part of me was inclined to agree that it felt a little silly that she would go ask how a pan-racial group of individuals can create an alliance when she works for one called the Federation and Starfleet. However, you brought up the point, Dave, during the show, where it wasn't about necessarily the alliance and how to create an alliance. It was about how Vok can see past his own ideology of purity and join an alliance and become a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that, without expanding and wasting any more time on that, that's our rebuttal. Would you agree?
No, absolutely. The name of the game wasn't to find a grandiose way of actually bringing everyone together in her world. It's about understanding her enemy. It's understanding the Klingons. How in the world does this Klingon leader side with all these other races when Klingon beliefs, it talks about purity and keeping the Klingon bloodline pure.
Right. It was more about Burnham trying to understand.
Yeah.
And obviously she wants to understand so she can take that piece of knowledge and hopefully use it to bridge the gap that's there between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. I think that was the whole point. She wanted to get in, right. She wanted to get inside of his head personally. So I think that's a very simple rebuttal, Dave.
Yeah, it's a very simple rebuttal because I know it's hard for some people to people want cut and dry, easy and simple. But the fact of the matter is, you can't have that in story sometimes. You have to have actual, honest to God moments of rationale.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the next one. The next question or comment is left from digitalspy.com. Again, posted on the review of this episode. For the audience, it's less a shocking reveal and more relief that the piecing together of clues can stop now that Tyler remembers he's been Vok all along. And the series can now move on to the next stage of the plot, hopefully without fans being able to guess what's next this time. Now, again, this to me is taking a lot of liberties with this assessment. I have to disagree with this one as well, Dave. And I'm not going to expand on it too much because we've already talked about this in depth. I don't feel like the reveal of Vok or Tyler being Vok was as predictable as people like to say it is now. I feel like the fan theories, one fan posted it, other blogs picked it up, and it became fodder for the masses, and everybody then posted it on sites and claimed it as their own theory. And I honestly feel like if the net wasn't there or a fan didn't draw these conclusions and post it to the masses, I don't think there's that many people out there that would have said, oh, I saw this coming. I'm not saying there weren't some out there. I'm just saying I don't think it would have been as predictable as people like to say it is.
Yeah.
Moving forward. All right, next one is taken from the subreddit Star Trek Discovery on Reddit. And this is posted by Shatterhand1701. It says, so, can someone clarify something for me? I'm hoping I just missed it, and that it wasn't a gaping plot hole. How did Burnham manage to get Discovery to beam up Tyler? Wouldn't the Shinzo have detected Discovery nearby and that his body was transported out of space? Now, there is a rebuttal to this already. I'm going to read that one as well.
Okay.
Posted by Mr. 768. This bothered me as well. Another thing that, like the strange lack of security recording cameras around Stamets, could have been explained with an extra line or two of dialogue. A quick shot of Michael going back into her quarters and contacting Discovery prior to heading to the transporter room to execute Tyler would have done it. What's strange is that they have more flexibility with running time in this series than any other Star Trek, with it being online and all. So why not add the extra exposition? I feel like this is an intelligent show, right, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Very well written for the most part. There's a lot of intelligent people in that writing room. And for the most part, Star Trek fans are also intelligent. I'm going to give them that because they are, Dave. I feel like Star Trek fans, out of when you compare it to Star Wars fandoms and many of the other countless science fiction fandoms, I feel like a lot of the Star Trek fans are more scientifically inclined. And they're a little more intelligent for the most part.
Just remember, they're scientifically inclined, but they're also those people that basically think they're scientists.
Right. I'm not saying they're scientists. I'm saying they like to pride themselves on being intellectuals. Okay. Yeah. Is that a better way of saying it?
There you go.
Okay. I feel like the writers know this. That for the most part, the Star Trek fans are intellectuals. I don't feel like they need to tell us every little thing that Burnham was doing in order to get from A to B to C to D. I think it's clear. I wasn't confused about that moment. I felt like, oh, okay, it works. Do you really need to see every little thing that happens? I don't think it needed to be done. I think we get it. Okay, we already know that she was in communication with Tilly and Saru, right?
Yes.
Okay. So deductive reasoning tells me that they were in the know. Simple as that. I don't feel like we need to waste time telling us every little plan that Burnham's going to do. So because we need to justify why we've seen it on screen.
Yes.
Because that's actually terrible writing. You never want to justify scenes by writing justifications. That's horrible. Yeah. That's actually writing 101. You never do that. You
never
show
do
it.
that.
Yeah. So now, to add a little bit, Dave, to what Mr. 768 said, I do agree with him about his comment about flexibility with running time. And this is something that I feel like Star Trek is really missing the boat on. Star Trek Discovery. We have all these new avenues of distribution nowadays. Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, CBS All Access. These are all online formats, right?
Yes.
The rules of television writing can change a bit. Not talking about act structure, but running time. You no longer have to stick to that 52 minutes or the 47 minutes for commercial breaks. You don't need to. Because you're not on regular television that needs to go to commercial breaks. So why are we writing episodes that follow the exact procedure of network television? And I think by doing that, they're missing the boat and not taking full advantage of their distribution outlet. Take advantage of it. That's the beautiful thing about today's technology. You know, why stick to the 52-minute rule? Why not go an hour and 5 minutes? This is something that various shows are doing nowadays. Longmire on Netflix has done it well, where if this episode dictates a little bit more meat, it needs a little bit more to it, then they go for an hour and 4 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, an hour and 7 minutes. As long as the script feels tight and the story feels cohesive and it doesn't feel like they're dragging things out, I think there's room to expand your running time a bit. And I'd really like to see Star Trek Discovery do that. Obviously, these episodes are done, but moving forward into season 2, take advantage of that running time. And I know possibly the reason why they're not doing it is because they're not writing for just a internet audience. I know they're on the Space Channel, I believe, in Canada.
Yes.
And maybe possibly they're hoping to air these someday on network television, so they want it to fit into that format. That could be the case as well.
I think my thought process on this, because it is it's a question that I've been asking myself as a production and a film historian, and just looking at it and seeing why is it that they're doing it this way, and just questioning the production. I've come to the realization that basically you also have to throw in the fact they might be doing this because CBS All Access, this was their first major series.
Right.
So this is their first quote unquote at bat at this. And whether yes, CBS is a huge company. They should know how the market is run nowadays. But then again, they're treading in water that basically they're not used to. So while I agree with you, I would love to see them actually increase the runtime just to increase that narrative, because other companies are doing it. CBS, this is a new avenue for them, so they might be approaching this with a little caution. Yes, this is their first major. Discovery has been a success thus far. However, the question then becomes for CBS, what else can we bring it to CBS All Access? And then, just like what you said, they have to deal with the fact that they might have plans for Discovery where they go to national television, two other distributions like Space Channel, because they have to format. At the end of the day, they still have to keep the format the same.
Yeah, and I think that's the simple answer.
That's the simple answer.
Yeah, they also, you never know. In 10 years, they may want to syndicate this. In 5 years, they may want to syndicate this on television, and it's going to need to fit the format. So that could be the simple answer. And I'm inclined to believe that one.
Yeah. I'm really inclined to right now believe in that one. Yes, fans, we want them to have a longer runtime, but I think also as a fan, you have to be patient, because they have to first see if this is going to be a total success.
Yeah.
And if it is a great total success, then by the second season, hopefully we'll see a bigger runtime, because that's how it usually goes.
Yeah. All right. So final thoughts, Dave. Then we need to wrap this week's discussion. Give me your final thoughts. Give me a grade as well in this episode. Let's get pretentious. Let's get on our soapbox here and give out grades.
Grades for this. Okay. Overall, there's so much in this episode that I really enjoyed. We didn't even touch on a couple other elements that I wrote down on my notes. The implications of Sarek in the mirror universe. What does that mean for Spock? Right. And how that actually helped broaden the idea of Spock in the mirror universe. And then so many other things. Grade wise, I give this a solid B+. Is it my favorite? Like last week's? Not quite, but this is also, it still did everything it needed to do to progress the storyline forward. And it made me want to continue to actually see where else are they going. It opened up more possibilities than a lot of people actually may want to think where the story is going. It's not just simply we're stuck in the mirror universe. We're stuck in the mirror universe. Yeah. But now the implications of now we know who the Emperor is. Why is it Georgiou? What does this do for Burnham's character? She's already in this internal conflict, and then she has to deal with Tyler. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, it's not a throwaway episode by any means, and it may not be perfect, but it serviced the series well enough.
All right. My thoughts once again, Dave, very similar to yours. I feel like this is a strong episode when it comes to character development. The mirror universe will ultimately lead to Burnham's redemption. I feel like that's definitely something that was being alluded to. The idea of using the mirror universe as a setting to explore certain questions and issues of identity, I think is absolutely fascinating and amazing. I feel like it was a great decision to take the show into the mirror universe to explore these types of questions and nuances to story. Also, the poetic aspects of the visuals this week. I mean, that's A+ work with the visuals, just beautifully done. As I was saying, almost every shot where you see the Discovery in the background is just a piece of art. It's absolutely beautiful. The choice colors just add so much vibrance and life to the shot in a rather stark story or in a rather depressingly stark story in a stark existence of the mirror universe, and yet you have these conflicting colors that are just I think it's just so good. And a lot of these writers, along with the cinematographers, are working together, I think, in a very synergistic way. They're really communicating, and I feel like the work that we see on screen is a testament to that. They're showing that they're trying to create certain emotions. They're hoping to evoke certain emotions. And that can only be done if you're all working together and everyone's on the same page. So I feel like this was a strong episode when it comes to character development and the implications. So I'll give this episode a B. David, anything else you want to add before we close out today?
That's it.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you love our broadcast and you just can't get enough of it, please find us on iTunes and Stitcher. Just search Star Wars. Oh, wait a second.
Star Wars.
Potty mouth. Just search Star Trek from the Holodeck. Add us to your favorites. Leave us reviews. Tweet us. Tell people about us. And we'll see everybody next week.
And live long and prosper.
I couldn't help but notice your pain. My pain? It runs deep. Share it with me.
End simulation.